The school hallways, with their rows of lockers and echoing footsteps, were supposed to be a place of transition, a neutral zone, a simple path from one classroom to the next, a brief interlude between lessons and learning, a place where students could gather, chat, and prepare for what's ahead. But for Jessica, they were a daily gauntlet of anxiety, a minefield of potential humiliation. Each step was fraught with the fear of what might be said, what might be done. Names like whale were thrown at her like stones, hurled with the casual cruelty that teenagers often possess. Sharp and intended to hurt, each word a tiny dagger aimed at her self-esteem. The barbs stung, leaving invisible wounds that festered over time. She learned to walk with her head down, avoiding eye contact, hoping to become invisible. Her shoulders hunched, a physical manifestation of the emotional weight she carried. Trying to make herself as small as possible, to shrink away from the judging eyes and the whispered insults. She longed to disappear. The laughter of her peers often felt directed at her, even when it wasn't, creating a constant state of unease, a low-level hum of anxiety that never truly faded. She was always on guard, waiting for the next attack. She started to believe the cruel taunts were the truth of who she was, internalizing the negativity and letting it shape her self-perception. Lunchtime was the worst, a daily reminder of her isolation. She'd eat alone, a solitary figure in a sea of chattering students, hoping to avoid the pointing and whispering, the subtle but unmistakable signs of ridicule. The vibrant, curious girl she might have been, the girl who loved to learn and laugh, was buried under layers of hurt and insecurity, hidden beneath a shield of self-doubt. The daily experience of being bullied was more than just mean words. It was a constant erosion of her spirit. It was a systematic dismantling of her confidence, a slow and insidious process that chipped away at her sense of self-worth, leaving her feeling broken and utterly alone, adrift in a sea of indifference. The hallways, once a path, had become a prison. In the quiet of her room, away from cruel whispers, Jessica found comfort in food. The crinkle of a chip bag or the sweet promise of chocolate offered a moment of pleasure in a day filled with pain. Food didn't judge her. It was a dependable friend. But emotional eating quickly spiraled into a destructive cycle. Comfort, then guilt, then more eating. Junk food became her primary diet, fueling the bullies' taunts as her weight increased. Exercise felt impossible, and physical education was a source of anxiety. She avoided activity, spending evenings in front of screens with snacks by her side. The more she ate, the more isolated and powerless she felt. She knew it was unhealthy, but the comfort was too powerful to resist. In the spring of 2020, an unprecedented event unfolded, reshaping the world as we knew it. The arrival of COVID-19 brought with it a wave of lockdowns, transforming bustling cityscapes into eerie, silent voids. Streets that once pulsed with life became deserted, echoing with an unsettling stillness. The COVID-19 lockdown brought an abrupt halt to many things, including the relentless routine of school. For students like Jessica, it meant an unexpected reprieve from the daily grind, the pressures of academics, and the social dynamics that often came with it. The school doors closed, leaving empty hallways and silent classrooms in their wake. For the first time in years, Jessica felt a sense of peace wash over her. The constant anxiety that had been her unwelcome companion began to dissipate, replaced by an unfamiliar tranquility. Her bedroom, once a battleground of stress and self-doubt, transformed into a sanctuary of calm. The silence was a gift, a precious commodity in a world that had always seemed too loud, too demanding. No more judgment, no more whispers in the hallways, no more feeling like she was constantly under scrutiny. The oppressive weight of others' opinions began to lift, just space to breathe, to simply exist without the constant pressure to perform, to conform, to be someone she wasn't. She could finally exhale, releasing the tension that had been coiled tight within her for so long. In this quiet, she looked inward, turning her gaze upon herself with a newfound curiosity. The absence of external noise allowed her to hear the whispers of her own heart, the long-suppressed desires and dreams that had been buried beneath layers of insecurity. And as she gazed into her own reflection, she saw the sadness in her own eyes, a deep, lingering sorrow that spoke of years of pain and self-doubt. It was a stark reminder of the emotional toll the bullying had taken on her. She realized the bullies were gone, physically absent from her life, their taunts and jeers no longer echoing in the school hallways. The external source of her torment had vanished, leaving a void where their presence once loomed. but she was still living in the prison they'd built, a prison of self-doubt, fear, and low self-worth. The walls of this prison were not made of brick and mortar, but of the internalized negativity that had taken root in her mind. Lockdown was a reset button, an unexpected opportunity to break free from the shackles of the past and rewrite her story. It was a chance to dismantle the prison cell by cell, replacing the negativity with self-compassion and resilience. A chance to rebuild herself, in private, on her own terms. Away from the prying eyes and judgmental voices, she could explore her true self, nurture her passions, and cultivate the strength to overcome her insecurities. For the first time, a flicker of hope ignited within her, a tiny spark of possibility that had been dormant for far too long. It was a fragile flame, but it held the promise of warmth, light, and a brighter future. This decision was hers alone, not prompted by anyone else. It wasn't a reaction to external pressure or a desire to please others, but a genuine yearning for self-improvement, a deep-seated desire to reclaim her life. She understood that only she could change her life, that true transformation had to come from within. No one could rescue her from her own self-doubt. She had to be her own hero, her own advocate, her own champion. The external obstacles were gone. The bullies were no longer physically present. The school environment was no longer a daily battleground. The path ahead seemed clearer, more open, and full of potential. Now she had to face her habits and fears, the internal barriers that had been holding her back for so long. It was time to confront the negative self-talk, the limiting beliefs, and the ingrained patterns of behavior that had kept her trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. With resolve, she decided this global standstill, this period of enforced isolation, would not be a time of stagnation or despair. Instead, she would seize the opportunity to embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Would be her period of personal movement, a time to actively work on herself, to challenge her limitations, and to move forward, even if it was just one small step at a time. She was ready to stop being a passive victim, a helpless bystander in her own life. She was tired of letting others define her, of allowing their negativity to dictate her worth, and start being the architect of her future, the creator of her own destiny. She would take control of the narrative, designing a life that was authentic, fulfilling, and aligned with her true values. The journey ahead was unknown, filled with uncertainties and challenges. She didn't have a detailed map or a guaranteed route to success, but she had something even more valuable, a burning desire to change and a willingness to learn along the way. But she was ready to take the first step, to venture into the unknown with courage and determination. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was prepared to face whatever obstacles lay ahead, knowing that each step forward would bring her closer to the person she wanted to become. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once, a mix of fear and excitement, trepidation and anticipation. The uncertainty of the future was daunting, but the prospect of creating a better life for herself was incredibly motivating. For the first time, she believed she could become the person she wanted to be, a confident, resilient, and empowered individual who was capable of achieving her dreams. The lockdown had given her the space and time to reflect, to heal, and to rediscover her inner strength. Jessica's journey began simply, almost inconspicuously. It wasn't a grand plan or a dramatic decision, but a quiet choice to explore what her body was capable of. It all started in the familiar space of her living room, her sanctuary, with a laptop as her guide. No gym memberships, no fancy equipment, just the desire to move. She navigated the vast landscape of YouTube, a digital library of fitness, searching specifically for beginner home workouts. The search bar became her gateway to a healthier lifestyle. With a mix of anticipation and trepidation, she found a video and pressed play. It was a small act, but it set in motion a series of changes she couldn't have imagined. The first workouts were undeniably tough. Muscles she didn't know she had screamed in protest. Even simple movements, the kind most people take for granted, left her breathless and questioning her abilities. But in the privacy of her home, surrounded by the comforting familiarity of her own space, there was no one to judge her stumbles or her struggles. It was a safe space to learn and grow. The instructors on the screen, virtual guides in her fitness journey, were consistently positive and upbeat. They were offering constant encouragement, reminding her to listen to her body, and demonstrating modifications for every exercise. Despite the burning muscles and the gasping breaths, she pushed through, determined to finish each video, one exercise at a time. She embraced the imperfections, understanding that progress, not perfection, was the ultimate goal, and that every rep counted. Slowly but surely, a routine began to form. The act of pressing play every day transformed from a chore into a ritual. The consistency paid off, and it became a habit, woven into the fabric of her daily life, a non-negotiable part of her self-care. As her confidence grew, she ventured beyond the beginner videos, eager to explore different workouts and challenge herself in new ways. Height, or high-intensity interval training, became a favorite for its efficiency and calorie-burning power. Dance workouts brought joy and rhythm into her routine, turning exercise into a celebration of movement. And strength training, using just her body weight, helped her build a foundation of physical power and resilience. The best part? All of these resources were readily available, completely free online, making fitness accessible to everyone. Small milestones like holding a plank for a few seconds longer, doing just one more push-up than the day before, or holding a plank for a few seconds longer, became victories worth celebrating. Each small victory empowered her, fueling her motivation and reinforcing her commitment to her health. She learned that consistency mattered far more than achieving some elusive standard of perfection. Showing up was half the battle. Showing up for herself even on the hard days when she felt tired or unmotivated built a deep sense of resilience and self-worth. The endorphin rush after a workout became something she craved, a natural high that lifted her spirits. It was a reliable and powerful mood booster, a reminder of her strength and capability. She realized she was building not just physical strength and endurance, but also cultivating a profound sense of mental strength, discipline, and unwavering self-confidence. With every drop of sweat, she was reclaiming her power, rewriting her story, and stepping into a new chapter of her life. Alongside daily movement, Jessica tackled her relationship with food. She started small, cutting out sugary drinks and drinking water instead. She stopped buying processed snacks, focusing on adding healthy whole foods. Protein became a staple: eggs, chicken, beans, and lentils. She discovered the joy of simple cooking, seasoning with herbs and spices. Her approach was about nourishment, not deprivation. She filled her plate with colorful vegetables and swapped white bread for whole grain. Each change was manageable, building new habits one at a time. She broke the cycle of emotional eating, using food to fuel her body, not numb her feelings. She learned to listen to her hunger signals and eat mindfully. The afternoon slumps disappeared, replaced by steady energy. She felt lighter, clearer, and more in control. Her transformation didn't require money, just intention and consistency. Months of effort brought visible changes. Jessica's weight dropped steadily. She lost half her body weight, a staggering achievement. Shopping for new clothes became a joy, not a source of dread. But the real transformation was deeper. Her health improved. She woke up energized, could run upstairs, and her skin glowed. She was physically strong, proud of what her body could do. Confidence blossomed. She stood tall and looked people in the eye. Daily victories built self-respect and belief. She liked the person in the mirror, knowing the hard work it took to get there. Her confidence spread to every area of life: school, hobbies, friendships. The sadness faded, replaced by optimism and happiness. She was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. The emotional weight lifted was even greater than the physical. When school reopened, Jessica walked the halls as a new person. Many didn't recognize her. Her confidence was unmistakable. Former bullies now tried to befriend her, drawn to her transformation. But Jessica remembered their cruelty and saw through their shallow interest. She chose not to engage, seeking genuine connections instead. Her journey taught her true strength wasn't about approval from others. She found her worth within herself, not in anyone's opinion. Jessica's story proves you have the power to change your life. You don't need expensive solutions, a gym, a trainer, or special meals. The most powerful tools are free: your body, your will, and the internet. YouTube offers thousands of free workouts for every level and style. The key is to just start. Press play, move, and be consistent. Transforming your diet is about knowledge and choice, not money. Free resources can teach you nutrition basics and simple, healthy recipes. Start with small, sustainable swaps. Water for soda, fruit for candy. Cooking at home is cheaper and healthier than processed food. The most important ingredient is believing in yourself. There will be hard days, but remember why you started. Your worth isn't a number on a scale or anyone's words. Jessica's journey shows anyone can change if they're ready to try. Jessica's story isn't just about losing weight, it's about gaining a life. She shed not just pounds, but the burdens of bullying and self-loathing. She emerged stronger in body, mind, and spirit. True strength is getting up one more time than you fall. Now, she looks to the future with hope and excitement. She wants to inspire others, showing them they're not alone. You can be the hero of your own story. It starts with a single step. Every day is a new chance to build a healthier habit. Jessica is proud, not because she's thinner, but because she fought for her happiness. Her message: embrace your journey,